I'm very proud to tell you guys this video is going to be brought to you by Gfuel, and right now they have a brand new Kaiju number 8 energy formula. You guys know, if you've been keeping up with my videos on my other channel, I love Kaiju number 8. I am extremely proud to say that I've tried this one out. This energy formula of the Kiwi Berry Blitz is absolutely insane, and you get that energy formula itself. There's just enough caffeine in the energy formula itself to get your day started. Another huge plus is the fact that there's zero crash when you use it, so you ain't got to worry about being Konohamaru and not being able to perform because you ain't got the energy. Also, you get all the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that are going to get your day going, and best of all, there's zero sugar, which is a huge plus to me. You guys know that running multiple YouTube channels, it's not an easy thing to do. And so I do time to time need an energy drink to pick me up. And so I go with Gfuel because it's a lot healthier than some of the energy drinks that are out there. Use my promo code KAGE in order to get your discount. When you click on my affiliate link down in the description box, you can purchase the Kaiju number 8 box as well as any other anime themed Gfuel products that strike your fancy. Doing so really helps support the channel. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the big elephant in the room regarding the latest chapter, which is the Sarada versus Hidari battle, and the fight that wasn't, or rather the fight that was, and it ended up going exactly the opposite of how a lot of fans originally hoped. Just to be transparent, while I do love Sarada's character, that 38-minute video essay is proof of it, I'm not going to be pulling any punches in this video. So heading into the chapter, there were very high expectations for Sarada versus Hidari, with the hopes that we would finally get to see Sarada use her Mangekyo sharingan. After all, Hidari was someone certainly strong enough to warrant such a display of power and hacks. Sarada, in the previous chapter, she was able to react to Hidari's attack and land a Shidori on the guy to bring him down, which led to the logical conclusion that the fight was about to escalate, but it didn't. And reading the chapter, there are a few key takeaways here, and some of them go back to, unfortunately, the issues that we've had with Sarada that go all the way back to Boruto Part 1, which is the constant mistake of not keeping her sharingan on for the duration of the fight and lowering her guard when her sharingan is off. And it's a problem that isn't exclusive to Sarada. Longtime viewers know what I mean by that, but it's a bit disheartening to see that only Boruto has grown past this issue in the 3-year time skip. While with Boruto it makes sense, he did have Sasuke training him and he spent the last 3 years looking over his shoulder. That was going to be enough to break Boruto that bad habit that he had in part 1 of the story, all the way up until the end of the story itself, which is lowering his guard. With Sarada, the issue with her continuing to do such a thing is that just as Boruto was forced to see things had changed and shore up his weaknesses, ask yourself this question: what uchiha have you ever seen who has knowingly identified a threat, engaged with the threat, and proceeded to cut their sharingan off before the threat was either eliminated or completely restrained? The answer is you didn't see one, not until Sarada. With all the technology increases in the Boruto era, it would have been a good time for Sarada to bust out her phone and have a chat with Boruto about what he was doing for his time skip training, or just speak to him in general to get a vibe check and eventually bring up the conversation. And there are a ton of apps that she could have used. If we go back to part 1 of Boruto, we saw over and over again that Sarada had the habit of not using her sharingan properly, despite us knowing that Sasuke had trained her on using the sharingan, like the training that was done in the Sasuke Shinen Teaches Star People story set before the Mujina Bandits arc of the manga timeline, where Sasuke trained on how to use her sharingan and she awakened her 3-tomo sharingan in the process of the training. Yet, as we see, she still doesn't keep her sharingan on for long periods of time. She does the same thing that another half-breed uchiha did, Itachi's lover Izumi Uchiha, which is, in order to conserve chakra, they sparingly used the sharingan because she, like Sarada, had a stamina issue when it came to using that dojutsu. For Sarada, that much she says in the tuning exams, the sharingan was taxing on her because her body doesn't have the stamina to use the sharingan for an extended period. In the Boro fight, she was shown constantly cutting her sharingan on and off, using it just long enough to read Boro's hand signs and movements with the eye insight, and then she cut it right back off. She barely fought in that battle, yet she was conserving chakra. And when she did finally use her Shidori, if you look at the manga version of the fight, She's straining one eye midway through the attack because Sharingan is required to properly use the Chidori, and she needed to keep it on in order to make sure Boro didn't have any sudden movements with his body or his core didn't move in order to make sure her attack landed. Against Kawaki in the sparring match, despite Kawaki coming in hot in that sparring match, she never cut on her Sharingan, which is how she got fooled by the Shadow Clone mid-fight. When she pulled up to stop Boruto and Kawaki from fighting, why did Boruto get the scar over his eye? It was because Sarada was standing there about to get her head cut off after Boruto tells her that Kawaki is still a threat, after Sarada is told that Kawaki is going to kill Boruto again, and she doesn't have her Sharingan cut on. She still thinks she can reason to Kawaki when he was too far gone. Had her Sharingan been cut on, the Eye of Insight would have seen what Kawaki was about to do, and she would have been able to avoid the attack. In Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, why was the Chunin bitten by the claw grime and turned into a tree? Sarada cut her Sharingan off and she lowered her guard. Now in the Hidari fight, she once again cuts her Sharingan off, and the reason that it's as big as it is that the Sharingan sees chakra as a color. She would have seen Hidari when he was placing that claw mark behind her that was not there originally, even when she was looking at Class Rep out the corner of her eye, because Sharingan would have seen the chakra in the area as a color and she would have known Hidari was about to attack. To Sarada's defense, she did tag Hidari with what she thought and what she stated should have been a fatal wound, and Chidori is meant for assassination purposes. But in that scenario, when the enemy is still functioning, the last thing you need to do is cut your Sharingan eye off. In fact, she should have turned it on in that moment, the second that Hidari was moving through the claw mark. Even though he's speaking to you, your Sharingan should have been on for that entire conversation, but it wasn't, and it resulted in you getting tagged off guard by one of the strongest lightning release jutsu in the series. Some of that you could say, hey, she hasn't been on any real missions in the last 3 years. I can give you that argument. However, here's the other issue that leads to Sarada with her Mangekyo Sharingan being a problem. So the fact that she is still cutting her Sharingan off, that is an indication that her stamina is still an issue, and that directly correlates with her Mangekyo Sharingan, because the Mangekyo, while it does come with a boost in power, and things like your Genjutsu get an insane amp because it bypasses certain limitations that the standard Sharingan Eye of Hypnotism has, the trade-off is that the Mangekyo takes a toll on the body in terms of the chakra expenditure. Now, I'm not saying, oh, she's got the Mangekyo, so therefore it drains her chakra right now. I'm not saying that. Allow me to explain if you think that. So it isn't just the burning out of the eyes when you use the Mangekyo that you have to worry about. There's a reason why you didn't see Itachi even before his health dropped because of his illness, going into every fight with this Mangekyo Sharingan activated. It was always Itachi with a 3-tomo, and if he needed to use the Mangekyo, he would use it. It comes with a greater strain, and it requires more chakra just to both use the Mangekyo as well as the Mangekyo Sharingan Jutsu respectively. But at least with full-blooded Uchiha, you don't have the issues with using the eye when it comes to the first one. If they need to, they can put up with the strain of the Mangekyo by keeping it active for whatever duration they need to. It's not ideal, but they can deal with it a lot better than someone like Kakashi, who was a non-Uchiha who had the eye. And even when he had his Mangekyo active, if you go through the manga very close, you can see him at times switching back and forth between the Mangekyo, and so too was Obito, despite Obito literally having a body Hashirama cell, so his stamina should have gotten a boost. Whatever Mangekyo Sharingan power she has, you now have to call into question whether or not she will be able to pull off whatever jutsu it is that she's going to use, in the sense of, does her stamina hold up long enough for the follow through of using the jutsu? Because if it isn't a one shot where her enemy's been taken down, she's gonna be right back in the same position. Again, I'm not bashing the decision to have Boruto save Sarada. As I said in my review, I stand by what Boruto did. Boruto's character needed that moment for his character arc, and that's something you will see when Boruto's 2 Blue Vortex is over. It all goes back to his flashback in chapter 5 where he lost Sasuke in the battle with Code, and the hug that Sarada gave him at the end of the chapter and the hug back that he gave her, which that wasn't for romantic pairing reasons. It directly goes to Sasuke's promise. I am totally fine with it. I will defend that all day, and I am fine with Boruto being there potentially for the fight. However, I am more disappointed than anything else with this moment, because I did have hopes that Sarada had turned a corner in this regard, and I thought that we would be seeing more combat-wise with her before Boruto showed up. That just felt like the natural progression for a character here, allowing for the fight with Hidari to go where the herd is thinned out a bit, like we saw the random Chunin hit with the fire release jutsu and Konohamaru getting knocked back by his own jutsu that he defended against Hidari with. However, that's not the direction things took. Again, I'm not upset with the concept of teamwork. Let me make that completely clear. I'm not upset that Boruto and Sarada might be working together. I expected that. However, I worry that this is a missed opportunity for Sarada's character to have her do a little bit more before Boruto shows up. While I am a proponent of patience with monthly manga, longtime viewers know that, and in the cases of the 2 quarterly manga that I read in private that release chapters every 4 to 5 months, so Boruto fans, you ain't got it that bad. Which those chapters are 45 pages combined. So let that sink in. 4 to 5 months for 45 pages. Boruto fans bitching about getting 40 pages, 40 to 43 pages every single month on a consistent release schedule. Here's the thing though, I do think based off of the extent of the damage that she took, we run the risk of Sarada being sidelined, and it does make me call into question if this was the best route to go to have her shut down before the Boruto reintroduction onto the battlefield. If that is going to be the case, that is a very bold decision. That is an extremely bold decision, and it's one that I think Sarada, in this instance, it has a chance of backfiring on her, because look at the contrast. So if you're a Himawari fan, you saw Himawari lose her fight, but to use a wrestling term, she still got put over even though she lost, because she was made to look strong in defeat, while the battle itself only raised the expectations of Jura. It was a win-win for everybody. We saw what Himawari was capable of, we saw a glimpse of her potential, and Jura looked like that much more of a monster. With Sarada here, we didn't get that treatment at all. I do think some of that might be a sign of the times for Sarada. She wanted to speak with her enemy who wasn't showing any signs of aggression, versus Himawari knew that it was on site with Jura right then and there because he tried to kill Inoji. But even with that being the case, it is indefensible to cut your sharingan off midway through a fight with your enemy, even though you think you won the fight itself and the enemy wasn't properly restrained and hadn't admitted defeat, which is how we got where we are now. She treated him not like an enemy combatant who was one of those claw grinds, but instead she treated him like she would treat a normal shinobi she was battling with, and she was trying to interrogate to get information. I know this video might come across as negative to some of you guys, and here's the thing. So if you're new here to the channel, let me just lay this down for you right now, okay? So I speak my mind and I don't pull punches. What I say is genuinely how I feel. I don't hype beast anything up or anything like that. I respect you guys enough to not lie to you. If I gas something up, it is because that's how I sincerely feel about something. I've made it no secret that I've had my issues with Boruto in the past. I've dropped the anime after 4 episodes and I kept it dropped until like episode 116 or something. I dropped the manga for 2.5 years. So here's the thing. If I am being critical, it's because I think I have something worthy of me voicing. Similar to, again, if you guys go back to Boruto chapter 43 review, I believe, the Borishiki reveal. I was not a fan of that chapter, even though the community was hyped, and I lost 100 subs off that video. And it's because I respect you guys enough to give you my honest opinion. If I think there's a moment for patience, I tell you guys, be patient and let it cook. And for me, I'm gonna let this cook a little while, but I'm also not going to hide my disappointment. But I've also been on the other side of things where I've noticed that there's a tendency where, oh man, I'm disappointed by this. Oh snap, 2 chapters later, the thing I was disappointed with, the mangaka ended up addressing it. So it's one of those things where I'm gonna shoot straight from the hip. I don't care who I piss off. You should know that by the thumbnails by now. I don't care if somebody doesn't like the thumbnails. I only care about the community down in the comment section. And I only care about making sure I'm shooting straight from the hip with you guys.